do better when we all do better. So let's break down our walls. Let's be vulnerable. Let's ask curious questions. And let's respect the fact that every life is important.
And welcome everyone to another episode of Humanity 2.0. Sometimes we do a second part because the guest is so amazing and no pressure. But Jenna Udenberg is an accessibility educator and a disability advocate, and I love her to bits. So back again, Jenna, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, bestie?
Oh,
it's been a little
bestie.
bit.
Oh, doing so good. I remember in the last episode you were like, sorry, the main bestie. I was like, okay, cool. I respect it. There, you can have multiple besties. That's what I think. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One for every day of the week.
Any day that ends in Y, I can have a new one, right?
Right. Exactly. So you are in Minnesota. It's freezing, I imagine.
Yes, the last time I looked, it was a -9 and felt like -21, and we have a -50 coming up. So
Oh my God. What do you do when it's negative? Good God.
you just stay home. In my world, like metal wheels do not do very well in manual chairs. So yeah, I just stay home when I can.
When you're stuck inside, do you do puzzles or do you do reading? What do you do?
I do a lot of my nonprofit work from this very space. I love playing card games and board games if friends or family are available. My most current de-stressor is a lovely coloring app on my phone. So it's very funny when I'm like, I am done for the day. I'm going to close the laptop and I need some no screen time. And I curl up in my recliner back there. And then it's like, what do you have in front of you? The TV, playing mindless junk, and your coloring app on your phone. But I wanted time away from screens, right?
Right.
But,
I mean, sometimes you can't get away from them, especially if the app is on your phone. So you at least get away from the major ones, like the computer.
Yeah.
I feel like,
yes, I do like to read, but it doesn't happen as often as I need to.
Well, same, but maybe that's our goal. Maybe we'll read books this year. What do you think?
I like it, especially larger print ones, because my middle-aged eyes are going, you're not a young chicken anymore, Jen.
Do you do the thing where you like take off your glasses to see something better?
No, I wish I could, but I have one eye that's nearsighted and one eye that's farsighted, and they're both becoming nearsighted, I think. So I'm in that weird transition that even my ophthalmologist is like, yeah, good luck with that. We'll see you next year.
I know that your nonprofit work is like a super, super big part, but I'm curious about your personal journey and then how it led to the nonprofit work. So feel free to start from wherever you want. You were born on a Sunday.
Actually, a Thursday.
Oh, well,
in the middle of April. No, just kidding. But I only know that because technology, right? We can go back into all those decades ago. Yeah, so refresher, became a manual wheelchair user at age 8. Was diagnosed with juvenile idiopathic arthritis at age 7. Been told from the medical world, like, you should write a book. So in 2023, I wrote a book called Within My Spokes, A Tapestry of Pain, Growth, and Freedom. And all proceeds from that book fund Above and Beyond with You and the work that we do there. And so Above and Beyond with You stands for you can go above, you can and should go above and beyond the ADA code, the Americans with Disabilities Act. So often businesses, industry, just random Joe Schmoes on the street think like ADA code is like all you can do. And the reality is that's just the floor. That's what you at least must do. And even in that, we understand that it's confusing, right? Like bars in the restroom, I don't know the exact numbers in my head at this exact moment, but it's like a 6-inch difference that they say is allowable. Well, when you're trying to do something right and meet your community needs and all the things, right? Like, is it 32 inches or is it 39 inches? I don't know. And I just did bad math because that's 7-inch difference. So there you go. But so then the with you stands for the fact that we want to do it with you because we need to grow together in community, and disability community needs to be a part of accessibility and inclusion at all steps of a project and of life, not just a standalone, give us your stamp of approval after a building's already made, come and say, great job when we have our policy manual updated to be more inclusive in our hiring practices. That doesn't feel good. It's tokenization and it's ableism and all the things. And so being able to be on that journey together, learning together is so huge and important. So that's what the WIT stands for. And then U is capital U because nobody knows how to say my last name, and sometimes I even screw it up. And also it's a nod to my music career of 19 years, being a music educator, and little kindergartners could not spit out Udenberg by the time I'd be down the hall. So all my kids called me Miss You. So we really work at creating spaces and places that are more accessible and more inclusive for everybody, but including, you know, accessibility and the disability community and culture. And primarily on my board currently, we have folks that have mobility disabilities, but we also want to be a conduit to all aspects of disability community and raising the voice and amplifying the voices of folks that identify as being disabled in lots of different ways. And so when I was a 2020 Bush Fellow in 2019, when I was applying, the tagline is think bigger, think differently. And so I did that, right? I forced myself to push myself out of the comfort zone. I have never flown, and to this day, I still have not, because when the airlines in America destroy at least 100 wheelchairs a day, I'm not liking those odds, and my wheels are my freedom and how I do all the work that I do. So, um, let's not go there and have that chance, right? But anyways, when I was planning in 2019, I was like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna put my big girl pants on, and I'm gonna go to Indiana for Champaign-Urbana, and I'm gonna go to Florida for one of the most accessible communities in our nation. And I'm gonna go over to Berkeley because I want to wheel in the spaces that all of these amazing disability activists and advocates have gone before. And I want to go over to Sweden because year after year after year is known to be the most accessible country in the world, and it also has a lot of similar climates to Minnesota. So if they've got it figured out, what can we do similar within Minnesota, United States standards to bring that accessibility in all weather formats to Minnesota and beyond? But as we all know, 2020 crap the bed, and I never flew, and I got to live out my fellowship in different ways. And part of that was developing my leadership, doing a lot of these kinds of Zoom virtual connections. So a lot of more sustainable work because the whole world was shut down. In hindsight, I'm thankful that I have much more lasting relationships from those 2 years of my fellowship being home than just 5 amazing experiences in traveling. Which I'm sure I would have created a few relationships in those spaces, but I think the work now is better because of the reality that I got to go through. And so we are just, continuing to better ourselves, right? We offer consulting, we offer training. Again, that process of learning together, transforming together, making sustainable change together, and also doing like site assessments if you're near where we are, or we travel and do all those kinds of things as well. But we're in our 3rd year, and so we're learning and growing and changing. And I sit in a lot of meetings. I sit in a lot of different community leadership spaces. I'm kind of needing a little bit of a break so I don't burn out and fizz out. So it's also learning all those boundaries and more about yourself so you can be a sustainable leader. What makes Above and Beyond with You stand out from other places is our board. Typically, our majority of board members have some connection to education. So I think we really come at problems and problem solving in very unique, probably atypical when thinking about other folks. And also we have 3 out of our 9 board members live with a physical mobility disability. So, you can read a ton. You can have allyship and you can have lived experience of being a caregiver, but until you're wheeling in spaces and not walking in spaces, I think that also helps us just have broader understanding and the ability to ask curious questions because we have to do it all day long for our own advocacy.
I think it's amazing that you have people that are allies and then people that are directly affected. Would you say that the percentage of both is equal, or would you say more that are allies? What would you think?
In our board or in
Or
our
just in like
following, or what do
the
you?
organization as a whole? Is it more people that are allies, or is it more people that are directly affected, or just like 50-50?
I guess I would say it's somewhere near 50-50. Like, we have had parents of folks with disabilities, caregivers, loved ones. So I guess it depends on our definition of ally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so almost everybody on the board has a connection to it. Excuse me. Otherwise, some of them are like retirees that were special education teachers or special education paraprofessionals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, we're all connected into it at some level.
I'm curious about the part where you were talking about the airlines. When you say
Yeah.
that they damage the chairs, do you mean like physically, or what do you mean?
Oh yeah, like we'll leave them inoperable. Like if you hop on YouTube and just type in like airline wheelchair damage, you will literally see workers just tossing chairs
Oh wow.
out of the planes. You will see workers laughing at putting a power wheelchair on a conveyor belt and they hit go forward.
Mm.
And I mean, it's just, and some of it is like not intentional, but there are a lot of videos out there of just like bad stuff. So there's really cool people like Wheels Up. I think it's all Wheels Up. And other, can't think of the right word, but advocate is not necessarily the right word, but they are advocating for accessible air travel. And so I know there are different plane prototypes out there right now where people can stay in their wheelchairs, and then there's just like a locking system,
Mm-hmm.
so you can stay in it. Because so often, like they have access aisle chairs, but you're strapped into this really hard 90-90-90 positioning,
Mm.
and then people have to either get you in it or you have to get yourself into it so you can fit down the aisles, hence being called an aisle chair, and then you figure out how you're transferring into your seat. But so often, many of us have custom built seats. They only fit a certain dimension. You know,
Yeah.
positioning is a huge thing. Forget about trying to go to the bathroom because
Oh
there's not
wow.
a
Yeah.
single accessible bathroom. But they are looking at that again in some of these prototypes of airplanes. But another person I follow, Spin the Globe, she had posted a video of some new airline. I don't remember what the plane number and name is, but all of the bathrooms were downstairs because it was like a two-layer plane. And
Hmm.
she's like, so much for making things more accessible. So yeah, there's lots of cool people to follow out there. Curve Free with Corey Lee is another great social media content creator. He's been to all seven continents as a power chair user.
Mm-hmm.
He, comes to different states and does all the things. I think last count he was like to 36 or 37 different countries. So there's amazing people to follow and like have your eyes open to what
Mm-hmm.
travel is like and how we can make things better, even just in our local hotels, right? Like traveling is hard because we have to bring everything but the kitchen sink usually because we never know, they can tell us, oh yeah, the hotel beds are a certain height. And then you get there and you're like, liar, liar, pants on fire, right? Or yes, ma'am, you are confirmed that you have a roll-in shower. And then you get there and it's like a clawfoot tub.
No.
And I'm not kidding. Like it's just
Yeah. It's a headache.
mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of using Amtrak?
It is on my list to try, and I've
Yeah.
gotten some mixed answers about
Yeah.
it. But again, I suppose it, like anything, depends on what train you get for that experience, what locations you're
Right.
traveling to and from, what truly is your disability and what your needs are,
Yeah.
like so. Have you done Amtrak before?
Yes. So I used to travel from San Antonio to Dallas back and forth, and
Oh,
Amtrak is so cheap. Well, it was before content creators came about, and then the prices went up, but it can still
okay.
be very cheap. Just depends on where you're going. And they do have really excellent options on the lower deck. Amtrak has the two layers, right? The two floors, and on the bottom floor there is areas with like no seating whatsoever that would be easy to access. And then I think maybe the bathroom might be the other question. but there may be compartments that I've not seen that I'm not aware of. So I think it would definitely be worth the research for sure.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Uh,
Another thing that I want to look into too is accessible RVs, and unfortunately, there's no provider to my knowledge yet in
yeah.
Minnesota, but like I think there's one in Colorado or whatever. So I would love to be able to rent one and go west, young man, right? Young woman, to explore parts of our nation that I've never seen. And I've never been to a national park before. So I
Oh,
think that would be
wow.
awesome to be like, my bedroom's here and works, the kitchenette works, the
Yeah.
bathroom works. Like, I
Yeah.
just have my house on wheels. That'd be
Yeah.
fabulous.
I
Nice.
think that it would be worth doing for someone on the team to reach out to vehicle makers like GM or Ford or all, because they're making
Mhm.
brand new cars that are electric. They're making cars that, in theory will fly. Well, they fly, when you drive off the wrong street. But I think that would
Right.
be an interesting, conversation or an interesting letter to write to these manufacturers and say, hey, what about a vehicle that is made for accessibility purposes, like only? I think
Right.
that would be a game changer. And then
Yeah.
same thing with the airlines, like with what they're doing with these prototypes, just keeping up to date on that information and maybe sharing it so that way other people can be inspired to reach out and say, hey, what's the holdup, buddy?
Right.
Where's this plane? Where are you at
Yeah.
with that? So that
Yeah,
that would be cool.
and I do like Brown Ability. I think they're stationed in Indiana, somewhere in the Midwest. And they actually worked with Chrysler because I have a town and country minivan, but
Mhm.
unfortunately they don't make those anymore. But they actually worked with Chrysler to be like, hey, let's make every minivan have the convertibility on the bottom side.
Mm,
So, being a northern Minnesotan person, I would love if they figured out how to do a four-wheel drive that can also have the sunken floor with ramps
yeah.
and all the things, because you're always trading one safety feature for another safety slash functionality of life to make it all happen, kind of a thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you speak it into existence, it could happen.
Right? Usually people they're like, you need to get your Lego robotics team to figure out blah blah blah. I'm like, we play with Legos and we code using Scratch. But maybe one of these kids someday will make Misuse world more accessible by using technology even
Yeah.
greater than we already do.
I just heard an episode from a friend's podcast this morning where he was talking about having the opportunity to judge an entrepreneurial competition for high school kids. And they
Oh,
had actual tangible products and they had to pitch them, of course, and then the winner got actual funding. And so I wonder if that's
oh,
something that could be pitched to the local universities, you
right.
know? Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be cool.
Until inventors know the needs
Mm,
and until it becomes a greater need for more people, that's when things can start being more mass produced and actually funded and supported. So,
right. Well,
yeah,
there's definitely a need and a lot of people in need. So we got two boxes checked.
right. Just getting the
Yeah.
right people to listen at the right time.
So
Okay.
I have a question about your early years. I know in this episode and also in the beginning or of the last one, you mentioned having the memories and the knowledge of your body before and after. So before when you had full function and then afterward
Mm.
when it was totally different. I'm so curious about how that felt. How many emotions did you go through and how did you work through them? Like I really want to see like the
Mm.
emotional makeup of going from being 100% functional to then having to change and pivot with having that illness.
Sometimes it's interesting to delve back into those memories because, in my belief system, I just feel like God just took a lot of those painful memories away. Not to say that I can't tap into some of it, and some of it is my personal memories, and some is like, oh, I heard my family talk about these scenarios multiple times. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Which all of us have that. Um, but yeah, of course, it was the whole grief cycle, right? The angry, the pity, the why me, the why the heck can't this bad person get it? Why do bad things happen to good people? I'm just little, all the different things. And just knowing the makeup of who I am, it's always harder for me to see that reaction on other people's faces. Like, I'm so much better being the medical patient going in for surgeries after having 18 of them, but seeing like my parent or a different loved one in the hospital bed, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I'm always the one in that space. Like, let me
Mm,
take one for the team because I just know how to do it, right? Not how to do it right or how to do it well, but like that's my space, not your space. And so, like I've said, I'm always thankful that I got my disability as a kid because yes, I have the memories of jumping and cartwheeling and, all the different physical things of childhood. But I was just able to adapt more, like in those moments. Of course not. Did I want to go to my best friend's birthday sleepover at her house? Absolutely. Was I gonna muster up trying to be able to climb up her 20 steps to get to her bedroom? No way. Was I gonna be humiliated by having to have my dad come and lift me or pop wheelies up 8 stairs to get in the house? No. So it was a very much more isolated childhood in that sense, except for when my family put a ramp on the side of the house so I didn't have to be lifted up and down the front entrance. Then, my house became the place for all of us to hang out and do all the birthday parties, whether it was my birthday party or a friend's or what have you. So, yeah, I mean, of course there's just the whole gamut of emotions and how you interact with them or don't interact with them. But I think in this day and age when we have more understanding of childhood trauma and of medical trauma and of just human psychology and how all of it interplays in our healing spaces and the grief cycle, like I think we're just in better places to help folks.
appreciate you sharing even just like the smallest insight, because I guess I was initially curious and still I'm curious, but I think I have a better understanding now of what you mean, as far as, what you can recall. And so thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that.
there's there's so many just facets to life in general, let alone life as a disabled person, let alone life as a disabled child, and just, how that changes the whole family structure. And like in my world, having three much older siblings, I was kind of like the baby of the family, but also like the only lonely at the same time. So much of that, like when people ask me some of those questions, I'm like, well, I don't know if that's because I was disabled. I don't know if that's because I have older siblings. I don't know if that's because I live in northern Minnesota. You know what I mean? Like, we are so uniquely made and put into this world at a specific time for different reasons and purposes that it's like, I couldn't diagnose to tell you
Hmm.
how this, that, or the other thing, because like I'm me, right? Like
Hmm.
all of these great experiences, all of these hard experiences, all of these things that should never happen to humans experiences, all just make us who we are, right?
Yeah, 100%. I guess my follow up
Mm.
is, what series of experiences kind of helped pull you out of the grief cycle?
Um, there's different humans that have come in and out of my life at different times, right? Middle school, high school was definitely my band teachers, right? They were like my adopted parents in the musical side because my parents were not musical in any way, shape, or form. And then later in life, it was, my physical therapist who I only had for like, I think it's a year and a half or 2.5 years, but she connected me to the bestie I was talking about in the last episode. And, um, so we've known each other since I was 12. And, um, she also is disabled, has the same diagnosis, has very similar life experiences, and yet very different ones. But that's what makes our friendship so cool and interactive. And then there's, been different church family folks. There's been different chosen family. There's been different leadership family. Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like for me, it's all about relationships. I'm a very relational person. I'm a very loyal person. Many times to a fault. Many times sacrificing my own self and my own needs.
Hmm.
And so I'm trying to learn that, in your mid 40s to like figure stuff out, right? Have better boundaries,
Yeah.
understand what that all looks like, and just to be a better version of self and help others that have similar needs along the way and try to help people not fall into the similar same pits or hard times that you did
Mm,
just because we weren't taught better or didn't know better or didn't have those mentors, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Friends are awesome. Like that's just a low key statement, but just friend, like any kind of connection, the fact that you were able to be connected with someone in a similar situation, or even like you said, people along your life that have come in and out, the core root of that whole response is the connections of other human beings. And if we talked to each other more these days and in that kind of intensity or connection, we'd be so better for it. We really do learn from each other and take from one another. I'm so happy that she was there for you and still is. That's wonderful. And church people too, they can be really great people.
Yeah. And I think too, another local leader brought up this word visitability to me last week or so. And that is so true. Like when I think about the relationships that get me through the hard times, that can give me tough love, that can call me on my crap, that are safe places. Um, they're places that I can come in and be me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I can hop on their couch because it's Jenna friendly. I can go to the bathroom at their space because everybody has that need. So like let's just figure it out. And so I think the more that people can just make their lived spaces, their safe spaces, spaces in which they host in,
Mm.
be accommodating and be open to all different kinds of needs, not just disability. We're all humans with all different needs. But like you said, it's making that time. Like when we think about, current people groups, right, that are more in tribal situations or back to our ancestors, depending on, what um different people groups that we come from, right? Like the women all met down by the river to wash the laundry together. The men went out and hunted and gathered together, or, whatever the situation is to make everyday life happen. They all protected each other. They bonded together as community. They made time. And so in this technology age, it's like, oh, well, I can hide behind this computer screen and just throw out stupid stuff. Or I can spend my life just looking at cute little cat memes because I just need to escape for a while, right? But it's when, at least for me, I can speak for my own self. I know when that addictive part of my personality, or when I have gone over that threshold and I've ignored my boundaries and I've ignored the dashboard lights on my body saying, you're
Mm.
stressed out. You just need to sleep. You need to put yourself in a timeout. You need to pace yourself. You need to, like whatever all those scenarios are. It's how am I filling myself? Who am I allowing to be in these spaces? Do I have enough courage to reach out to those trusted people and be like, hey, I just need to come and hang out on your couch. I don't even care if you're home. I don't care if you're cleaning your toilets. I don't care if
Mm.
you're making dinner. I don't care if you're making something that smells horrible, right? Like, I just need to be in this space with another human that is somewhere near.
Mm.
And I think that is so true in our isolating ways. And I think it's so true in the disability population. Whatever disability, not just mobility, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like out of sight, out of mind. And that's super harmful, right? Because we all have that innate need. I have maybe a little bit less because I'm truly an introvert, even though by the way I present, many people would be like, whatever. But it's getting to know folks. It's getting to slow our schedules down. It's getting to put margin in our schedules to be like, hey, I want to go and sit and literally have a 20-minute coffee with my 99-year-old neighbor
Mm.
because we know statistically her days are less. But I want to learn from her. I want to learn what it was like to live in the South during XYZ decade. I want to learn, her favorite recipe to make deviled eggs, right? Like
Mm.
just breaking down those barriers and being intentional. That's like my word for 2026 personally, because if I'm not being intentional about it, then I'm just always doing tyranny of the urgent and I'm always at the beck and call of everyone else. And then I'm not showing up as my authentic self.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned in your 40s and it being a time of personal exploration and setting those boundaries and figuring out what Jenna needs, what Jenna needs, not what Jenna needs to do for everyone else, but what Jenna needs. I can
Right.
definitely identify with that. I'm also in my 40s and I was talking to somebody at a pool in Orlando. I
Nice.
just finished the last day of this conference and I said, okay, I'm going to go to this hot tub thing and it's cold out. So I went and there's some people there. And then this lady just comes out of nowhere and she's in her 50s or something. And we were talking about in your 40s, in your 20s, in your 30s, and how, like, in your 20s, you're just out there having fun and just doing whatever, like the spaghetti test, whatever sticks. And then in your 30s, you're like, whoa, what did I do there? And then you're
Right.
just confused in your 30s. And then your 40s, she was like, those are the fun ones. She said, that's when you start to investigate and explore what you need, and who you are in your 40s. And that's exciting because you're also empowered to change things and become who you want to become because you have that past knowledge. And so she was very inspirational. And so what you just said made me think of that, because it's very, very true. And you really do get to just embrace yourself and figure out what you need. The other day, this was like maybe a few weeks ago, I was in the kitchen, and I think I might have brought this up on the last episode. I'm not sure, but it's worth bringing up again. It was I wasn't feeling so good. Like I tend to not eat and just work, and that catches up with you. And so I just felt weird. And for the first time in my entire life, I kid you not, I stopped and I said, what do you need right now? Like, that was it. I just said, what do you need right now? And I was like, well, I need food. I need water. That might make it better. And then I told myself, okay, let's do it. Let's go get food. Let's go get water. Super simple. Just, what do you need right now? Just asking myself that. I've never done that ever. So that was a first, but it was very cool. And then I took care of that, and I felt a ton better. And I was like, good job. Good job. So
Right.
simple, but it's so like profound, because I've never done that. And I felt so good that I did that. And now I do it a little bit more when I remember. And maybe I have memory issues. I don't know. But it just felt really good. And then as of late, I've started to look at who is around me and invite more people that are inspirational, or maybe they're leaders, or maybe they're entrepreneurs, or business like minded folks, or people that are other podcasts that are just like at or above. And I mean, not saying that I, don't let in people that are just, people, but just intentionally adding more people that are, high performers, because they tend to make you also want to do more, or they remind you that you have already inside you, or you're already doing these things. It's just sometimes you need someone to talk to about it, or for them to mirror back at you what you're projecting. And so that's been so helpful. I met the coolest guys at the podcast convention, and it was all started because one of them was carpooling with some people, and I had asked, like, hey, who's carpooling from the airport, because I don't want to pay $50. And thankfully one of them was like, oh, I'm actually driving to the whole thing, but I'm picking up people at the airport. And so I met that person first, and their name was Scott, and he has like this broadcast background, and he's in a whole lot of things, and he lives in Waco, so not too far away. And so he was very interesting. And then we picked up another guy whose name was Russ, and he's older, but he survived cancer, and he's living with diabetes and the side effects of the treatments. And he just has the most sunny disposition. He's from Oregon, and he's just a cool guy. Does his podcast as well, because of course everyone's podcast just about. And then the other guy, he was the last one to get there, so we had to keep circling the airport to get these guys. Pokemon.
Nice.
So then when he comes out and we run around again, Scott says, yell Mike out the window. And in my head, I'm like, okay, 7 mics are going to turn around. But thankfully there was only one.
Wow.
Statistically impossible in Orlando.
Right.
I would think. I'm not from Orlando. I don't know. So I yell it, and this guy looks, and I just kind of wave, and then everyone gets out the van. And it was so funny because every time someone got to the van, everyone gets out of the van to say hello and take a picture, which I was like, okay, we're doing this. So then we get him, and then he gets in the van. And so you have this really nice person from Oregon, this really nice person from Texas also, and then this really nice person from Kentucky who has embraced where he's from. He's embraced it. He's phenomenal. He's so funny, and he's so grounded and so like humble, and he's like, look, I came from blah, 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 and this is just who I am. And he's wonderful. Has his own company where he networks and helps other people become amazing at whatever it is they're doing. And his concept of just loving on people and helping them become the best. He was like, that's how I become the best, is by helping other people become their best and helping lift in whatever way they need. And he's just really great. He's 44. So I'm like, if that's
Nice.
44, then that's amazing. Like, I really am digging the 40s thing. It does freak me out a bit sometimes. So I'm like,
Right.
you know, almost 42. Like, yeah. You probably are like, girl, stop whining.
It's fine. You got a few more years before you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope not. I
Right.
hope it's good. But thus far, it's been pretty cool. I think I freaked out at 40 and was like, learning now. But then that wore off. So yeah, I'm really
Yeah.
enjoying that whole self exploration and actually taking time to ask, what do I need, and
Yeah.
think about what I don't need and toss it out and move it away from me. So that's been really great.
Yeah, I think, in my world, I call it, my pruning seasons. And
Mm,
so there's been a lot of relationships that have been pruned away in the last decade for sure. But I guess, for listeners, I would just encourage you to like take that inventory of who's around you and like what are those attitudes and maybe unspoken scripts sometimes, that they're what kind of life are they breathing into you, or are you breathing into them? And if it's
mm,
not a two-way street, and if it's not a healthy situation, or it's not that you're excited to see those people, right? Like kind of the whole like, does it bring you joy? Does that person bring you joy? And not to say that every single person in every season is gonna be that. Like we're called to hard things. So don't like go throw all your friends away and have this big midlife crisis and then blame it on Vanessa and I. But like really take that inventory and then be okay, like protecting that pacing for yourself. Be okay being like, you used to have access to all 26 chapters of my memoir, and now you have like access to two. And that's okay for a time. And being able to be honest about that with yourself, if it's a safe space and a safe relationship to have that honest conversation, even though it's gonna be super hard, don't get me wrong, but to just be like, hey, we're growing and changing, and like that's okay. And maybe we'll come back together again in 4 years or 2 years or whatever next milestone happens. But
mm,
um to just be okay with that. And I'm eating my own words right now in my own social circles. Life is hard. And once you know better, you want to do better. But sometimes we fail miserably in that learning how to do better because we don't have that skill set yet. So
mhm,
finding those safe spaces to flex those muscles of change and leadership and self protection, self growth, getting a growth mindset,
mhm.
like I thought I was like, I have growth mindset everywhere. And then all of a sudden you get a mirror put up and you're like, oh shoot. There's another thing to work on. And as a former teacher, it's like, I don't want to make those lesson plans. I don't want to study for that test. I don't want to, that's dumb. That's a broken system. I don't have time to fix all the broken systems that I have to live in.
That's funny that you use the word "that's dumb." I had this thing where I had been listening to Les Brown and he was saying "shut up," and then I incorporated that in a different way. So whenever negative thoughts or thoughts of limitation or just things that are not me, I know it, they're not me, but I would push them away by saying, that's dumb. Like I would accept it, receive it, I'd receive it, not accept it. I'd receive it and just say, oh, that's dumb. And I've just
Right.
applied that to everything and it really works. But to echo your sentiment of the listeners or viewers, I think that that's something that is really amazing, that you can do that at any age. And that's
Yeah.
what I want to put out there, is that you can do that self inventory, that
Hmm.
reflection, that pruning. And we both would say collectively, at least I think, that you can do that at any age, and you should, because the sooner you do that, the more growth that you can expect, and the more you will really just enjoy who you are both now and later as well.
Yeah, and I would really encourage, especially those that are in younger generations than ours, to like reach up to those older generations. Like find trusted mentor type mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle type folks to have in your life because they have knowledge. And so often we just think, oh, they're dumb without the B. That's usually my other saying, and it's like, no, like their life might look different. The advice they give you, you probably don't want to receive, you don't want to hear, you don't want to live out, but Yeah, more often than not, they are right. But I have to learn it in my own way, in my own time. And so finding somebody that has wisdom, but also grace
Mm,
is the key to finding different generations of connectivity. And then also reaching down to the next generations, like not just the educator in me, not just the advocate in me, but just being a human being, like reaching out and working with kids, talking to teenagers, talking to college age kids. Like, again, we're all meant to be in community. We're all meant to be going to the watering hole, living life together, going grocery shopping together, like whatever it is, like
yeah.
just do it together. You don't have to have these big events or have fireworks or these 5-course meals. Like just go to the grocery store together and buy Pop-Tarts and Twizzlers and some pea pods. I had to have something healthy in there since we're in our 40s.
Peapods. Can you tell
That's a really
everyone-
gross combination.
That is, well, I was with you until the pea pod part, but all right. Must be a Minnesota thing.
Right. You do you, Minnesotan.
Can you tell people where to find your book so they can read this memoir?
Yeah, you can find Within My Spokes anywhere you buy your books, on Amazon or Barnes& and Noble. My audiobook should be fully released into the world in the next coming weeks, just waiting for all the Audible things to do all their algorithms and all the stuff. So if audiobooks are more your thing, it is on its way.
And again, the full title is
Yeah, Within My Spokes, A Tapestry of Pain, Growth, and Freedom. And you can also see all the links to it through our website, aboveandbeyondwithyou.org.
awesome. So I'm going to put the book link as well in the description, along with your website, so people can go there and learn and maybe even join. That would be amazing.
That was
Thank you so much for being here, even though we had some fun.
We always have an adventure, bestie. It's all good.
We really do. I enjoy speaking with you and interacting with you all the time. So definitely don't be a
For
stranger.
sure.
And for the rest of you guys, we'll see you next time on Humanity 2.0 podcast with the next human. And who knows, maybe Jenna's coming back for a part 3. Only way to find out is if you stay tuned. And don't forget to subscribe to all the things. For me, for Jenna, subscribe to yourself. How about that?
There you go. That's a good one.
All right. Well, thanks so much again, Jenna. You have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Humanity 2.0 podcast is brought to you by Vanessa the Vivacious Productions. Want to be a guest? Visit the link in the episode description for future guest opportunities. Ready to podcast like a boss? Join Podmatch and begin your Podmatch journey via the link also listed in the description. Subscribe to Humanity 2.0 podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Follow and help support the show by buying Humanity a cup of coffee via buymeacupofcoffee.com/Humanity 2.0 podcast. Above all, don't forget to be good to other humans. See you guys next time.